Hello and welcome back to Youth Code Jam's online Bits and Bytes lessons. We are switching back to our Code Adventure series, and for the next 2 weeks we will be working in a program called Snap. So this is another block coding language, but it looks a little different than what we've used in the past. There's less pictures involved. It's definitely more focused on the code. Another thing about Snap is that it's really geared towards data visualization, which is kind of like making graphs and charts and stuff like that, but there's also other ways to show data. Today's just going to be kind of an intro activity to get used to where the tools are and how this platform works, but we'll kind of explore more the data side of it through other lessons. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to escape out of this slideshow. And in a new tab, I'm going to pull up Snap. So it's snap.berkeley.edu. And once you're on this page, you can just come over here and click Run Snap, and it's going to bring up our Workspace browser. So I'm going to flip back and forth between this screen and our PDF over here. This PDF is going to be available from youthcodejam.org under our Jam at Home virtual activities and Bits and Bytes online. So the format's pretty much stayed the same. Here's our brief intro. Here's what's going on, our next current series. So this is all about Snap. We're going to keep targeting the 3rd to 7th grade demographic with these activities, and we'll pretty much always do beginner to intermediate. And our goal is that we build on difficulty with each lesson. So we start off pretty easy and then add more components to the programs. So the latest activity will be posted here. This is where this video will be posted Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Time. And right underneath, you'll be able to download any materials. So this activity sheet will be available for download here. And then past month's activities will be here. So this actually, by the time this video is posted, this will all be cleared out, but that's okay. We'll have all of September's to add in there next. So switching back to Snap for us. This is our workspace, so it's built off of Scratch. So it uses a lot of the same blocks or names like that and the same color scheme for the drawers that we see over there, but it looks a little bit differently. So over here we have these buttons that take us to the different block types. So you can see motion, looks, sound, control, sensing, operators, and variables. Those are all familiar from Scratch. We have a new one called Pen, and that's a special tool in, I'm familiar with it from Python, but it is essentially a pen where it allows you to draw things. I don't think we're using that one today, but there is a future activity that we're going to use the pen tool with. So that's all pretty basic. You've seen that before. This is our workspace. This is where the scripts tab is where we're going to add our code. So instead of calling it code, they're calling it scripts. We have the costumes tab where we can draw. So unlike Scratch, we do not have pre-made sprites or pre-made backgrounds. So we have to create all of that either by hand or with code. So this is where we would change what our sprite looks like. So right now the sprite, if you come over here to the right side, this is our stage, and there's this gray arrow in the center of a white background. That's our sprite, and that's the pen tool or the turtle tool, however you want to look at it. And it's represented down here by this thumbnail. And then you have the sounds tab next to the costume. So it's pretty similar to Scratch, but it's more stripped down in the way of graphics and images. So it might not be as fun to look at, but it's a little bit more powerful with the code. And you'll start to kind of see more of what we might call grown-up code because of the lack of images. So the first thing we want to do for our program is we're going to change our background color. So that's working over here in the stage, like I said. So the first thing we're going to do is underneath the stage, so that's this white square, this is our thumbnail, our stage and sprite panel. You're going to click on the little white icon with stage underneath it, and that makes stage active. So once that's clicked, you can switch over to the backgrounds tab here, which I already am at. And then you can come and click on this paintbrush, and that's going to bring up this paint editor. And we're going to just do a really quick change, and it's going to be really fast. So you're just going to change from using the paintbrush tool to the paint bucket. I'm leaving my background as black, but you can change it to whatever you want. And I'm going to click once in this checkered space area right here. And then I'll make the whole background black. And that's what I want. So then I'm going to press OK. If you guys want to do more elaborate backgrounds, you can, but I'm going to keep it pretty simple for now. Okay, so that is step 1. It looks like a lot because we had all these blocks here, but we wanted to make sure that you were clicking on the right things. But it was actually really, really fast. So on to step 2. Now we're going to create our sprite. And this one is going to be a little bit more, work than that one, just because there's more steps, but it won't be hard. So we're going to go back to our program and click on the sprite thumbnail here so that that's active. And then under costumes, once again, you're going to hit that paintbrush button. And this time we're going to draw a solid circle or a filled circle here. Actually, this one's called ellipse. So I'm going to click on the filled ellipse block, and then I'm going to choose whatever color I want. So I kind of used a purple in that example. I'm going to do that again. And then in the center, or as much as possible, in the center of my screen, I'm going to draw a circle. If you're using a keyboard, you can hold down Shift and it will draw a perfect circle. If you're using a tablet, you might have a little harder time with that. So it's not exactly in the center, but it's close enough, and I'm just going to press OK. And you can give these a name if you want. So right now, what I want you to do is right-click, and you're going to get this pop-up menu that says Edit, Rename, Duplicate, Delete, or Export. So Edit would bring up that pop-up window again and let you change things about it. You can rename it from Untitled. So if I hit Rename and I can do, I don't know, let's call it Circle. So change the name from Untitled to Circle. But what we really want is when we right click, or if you are using a tablet, you just want to hold down on the circle for a few seconds, and that should bring up this menu. But when you right click on this circle, you can do duplicate, and we're going to do that, and then you're going to right click again and do edit, and we're going to change the color. So I'm going to change it to kind of a blue. Oops. So there's this trick here, and I forgot it. So I changed the color. I want to make sure I do the paint bucket, and then I'm going to change the color to blue, and then I'm going to come over here and click on the circle. So that's 3 steps. Click the paint bucket, change the color to what you want, and then click on your circle to change the color, and press OK. So we're going to repeat that a few more times. Let's see, how many more times did I want to? We want 4 costumes total, so we're going to do that 2 more times. You guys can pick whatever colors you want. I kind of stuck with the blue purpley range, but you guys can choose whatever you want for this. But make sure it's something that stands out against whatever background you chose. So if you chose a green background, maybe don't do green circles. So I'm editing. I'm going to choose kind of this pink magenta color and click on my circle. All right, one more time. Duplicate, right click on the new one, edit, paint bucket, and I'm going to try and get that green. Yep, that's the green I want. It's kind of that seafoam, teal green, mint green, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so those are my 4 circles. That's all I want. It's actually 1 circle, right? So my sprite is just that one costume. It's this one item, and then these are the different costumes underneath it. So that's you're going to see why we're doing that. It just makes it look fun, basically, when we start drawing on our screen. Okay, so now we can actually move on to the code, and we're going to go back to the code by clicking the Scripts tab, and make sure that the sprite is still active. So if you've somehow clicked on the stage in those last few steps, make sure you go back and click on the sprite, because we want our code attached to the sprite. So just like in Scratch, we want the code attached to our sprite. And the first block we're going to get is from the control drawer. So you're going to click on the control button and grab one green flag clicked. And then we're going to give our sprite a starting position. So that comes from the motion drawer. and it is the go to x0, y0. And I believe I left it at 0, 0 because that should be the center of the screen. Yep, so it didn't move, so we were already at the center. So that just makes sure that it always starts at the center of the screen. So the point of this program is we're going to draw however many circles. We're going to ask the user how many circles we want to draw, and that's how many circles are going to appear on the screen, and they're going to iterate or go through the different costumes when we draw them. So to get that, we have to ask the user for some input, and this comes from the sensing drawer. So go here to the sensing drawer by clicking on that button, and then you'll see this block, ask what's your name and weight. Grab that and attach it to our code. Click or tap inside where it says what's your name and change it to, what did I ask? How many circles do you want to draw? Okay, so you might see there's an asterisk between each word. That's to indicate a space to the computer, and the program automatically adds that in. So you don't have to worry about what that little character between our words are. It's just to tell the computer to put spaces between there. All right, so we're going to want to do a couple things. So we're going to draw circles so many times, so that means we're going to need a loop. So the loop we're going to use is repeat from the control drawer. So if you remember Scratch, there's events, which is what the when green flag clicked falls under, and then control for our loops and if statements. In Snap, you can see that events and control are combined into one block, and that's okay. They are very similar and not too different. We are controlling when the program starts. So some things are more condensed in here. So here's our repeat 10 block. And if you look at the activity sheet, you can see that we're going to draw a circle, answer -1. And the reason we're doing that is we start the program with one circle already drawn. So we're going to we need to draw one less than the number given. So if I said we want to draw 5 circles, because we already have one on the screen, we want to draw 4. So that's why we're minusing 1 from that response. And it looks like, so this video, the activity sheet's going to be a little out of date. I need to go back and fix these 2 pictures. But the actions we take will be fine. So don't reference this activity sheet on screen for steps 8 and 9. I will update that. So the first thing we need to do is go to our operators drawer and get the minus function, or the subtract function right here, and drop it over our 10. So unlike Scratch and some of the other programs, this one makes it really obvious when you can drop in these blocks and nest them inside each other. So once you see this big white circle around it, you can release. And then you'll go back to the sensing drawer and get this answer block from under our ask block. Place that on the left side of the minus sign, and then on the right side type in a 1. So that will give us our answer -1. The next thing we want to do is create a clone of our sprite so that we can draw a second version of it somewhere. So go to, this is again in control, and let me look at that block again, create a clone. We're going to have to scroll down a little bit here, I think, to find it. Here it is, create a clone of. I'm going to put that inside our repeat block and use the drop down to choose sprite. We want to make sure that we're getting our sprite variable there. And on the note of the activity sheet being wrong here, if you guys download the activity sheet and you or your parents notice a typo or something's not clear to you, please let us know. This is not the final version of these activity sheets ever. We constantly review them and find things that need to be fixed or things that maybe we want them to read a little differently. So if you guys run into that situation where something's not clear enough or there's a typo somewhere, you can just message us through the email on our website and we will take a look at it and fix what we can. But your feedback's very important to us. So that was step 8. We're going to go on to step 9. And we're going to have the circles appear randomly on our screen, because if we just did it here, we would have our costumes stacked on top of each other. We wouldn't be able to see the circles. So go back to the motion drawer and get this go to block, and then use the drop down to choose random position. And I believe the last step is going to be adding a costume. So that's from the looks drawer, and you're just going to choose next costume. And now we can try to run the program. So I'm going to hit the green flag. It says, my sprite says, how many circles do you want to draw? I'm going to say 6. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can see that 2 of my circles go off the edge. You might draw this and the circles might not be visible, but you can tell here that the program is working. That's because they were drawn way off here somewhere on the stage. So there is some code you could do to make sure that doesn't happen. You can try that out as an adventure mode. Some other things that you can do is add another sprite and have it move randomly around the stage each time the first sprite clones itself. So that's one thing you can do. You can add a sound for each time the clone is created, so explore that sounds tab a little bit, or use a rotate block to make the original sprite spin when the script is making clones, so that one that stays in place, the original one could spin. So this one right here could spin in place if you wanted. So like I said, that was a very simple activity, mostly to get you used to these blocks and this interface. I'm going to fix those last 3 pictures so that they match this right here. But other than that, that was it for our activity. If you're able to come to our live sessions, they are currently from 4 to 5 p.m. CST or Central Time. So those are free. They're really fun to go through together as opposed to maybe just watching the video on your own. But the next one, so this is going up after our Tuesday session. Our next one will be Wednesday, September 9th. We had a Tuesday session instead of Monday because of Labor Day, but next week we'll return to our regular Monday, Wednesday schedule. But I hope you all are doing well and have a good day.